I want to read you a quote from one of your pieces that you wrote recently. And you say that sustained global media and political narratives and moral panics have long stigmatized and maligned Palestinian, Arab, Muslim, Middle Eastern men as deviant, violent, criminal, hypersexualized, misogynistic, barbaric, and woman-hating.
The weight of Orientalism bears down on the way that media frames, interprets, represents and presents information. And of course, I was writing that in the context of the war atrocity and rape atrocity propaganda, particularly after the New York Times article, which was syndicated in mainstream in mainstream Australian newspapers. So it reverberated back into Australia. And what I saw and what prompted me to write the article was how there were people in, I would say, who used to be progressive except Palestine. Of course, we can debunk what that means but let's just call them PEPs, who seemed to suddenly after October 7 have their conscience awoken and started to, reach out and try to understand what was happening. And then the New York Times article came out and it's like they lost their minds, sharing it absolutely besides themselves, were unable to use any critical faculties to see this as a report that was so clearly in service of manufacturing consent for genocide. And I was, prompted to write it because I could see how our societies are so primed to immediately believe what was so clearly, obviously, a beat-up story and propaganda. But they were primed, even the most well-meaning people who usually use their critical thinking skills were unable to let go of that latent Orientalism, and were so. And not only that, they were unable to, and they were so quick to believe that, and there's been absolute, no attention to the actual documented cases of sexual violence against Palestinian girls and women that a UN report said that there was credible evidence of. There's been a media blockout of that. There's been no outrage by so-called white feminists. There's been a complete erasure of Palestinian, women and girls suffering at the hands of the Israeli army. And that goes into the fundamental racism and the racist landscape in which the media operates.